I decided to get out of the house and go for a short hike, not very far from my home, the place I live. Not far because the fuel is still $2 a liter, and while I'm hiking this trail, it's a very kind of a rainforest type trail full of fern, which I love. It's one of my favorite plants. Um, I want to share a couple of thoughts related to people being possessed by destructive forces. I shared similar thoughts, but now I have some new story I want to share about a relative who passed away several years ago. Um, she was a kid meant to live a life full of trouble, maybe, or maybe it just happened to her. So what I learned today from another relative, I learned something weird that's not for anyone to hear or to believe, and I'm not trying to convince you that these are true facts and this happened. If you really believe in science, that's fine. I'm just telling you that the science don't have the tools to measure lots of invisible and miracles and paranormal events or mosquitoes. Okay, um, but it's good to kind of think and hope that science at some point will connect the dots and slow, one step at a time, the science will kind of look into this phenomena. What happens with these people? What means love? What means hate? What means different emotions? And how these things attract certain diseases? So right now, the medical science does not connect the dots with emotions, with let's say divine beings that for science are just a pile of BS. Lots of people would tell you that there is no Jesus, there was no healers, there was no miracles. That's totally fine. And I keep saying it's very similar thinking the old days when people were indoctrinated by the religion to believe only certain things. People were following certain doctrine, or if the king said this, everyone had to follow out of fear or out of respect or love for the king, or love for the religion groups, or because of the need of belonging, need of protection. Different reasons make people think a certain way, so you don't have to judge someone who is not sharing your opinion or is not connecting with your thinking. So now to the story I'm trying to say, one of these relatives, like I can't say how close that relative was to me. Her mom had to go somewhere and left this kid with someone else in someone's house. It was during the Second World War, and at this place, kind of a farmer house, there were lots of paintings, like religious paintings, all over the house, like on the walls. And it's very common in Christian communities, Christian followers to have, but not all the religions are part of the Christianity, but in Orthodox houses you see all sorts of saints and like a portraits, paintings of these deities. We had the Last Supper with Jesus, in the house for many, many years when I was a kid. My grandma had a bunch of saints, which I don't know. I only remember they were paintings with saints, all with some sort of a book, or maybe the Virgin Mary holding a baby, which we know who was the baby. But all these saints had some glow over their heads. And I never knew. I always thought, what's that glow? I mean, it's like a round circle, golden color circle around the head. And what's that? Because we as a human, we don't have that. And why the painter portrayed these people with something around the head? And in many paintings, it appeared like a solid glow. And you think it's something made out of gold or something. It's what it is. As a kid, I could not understand what's that. It took me many years to figure that actually it was a representation of their aura, a golden aura, which means wisdom and some other stuff, like only good stuff. Okay, and mosquitoes, yeah, can get away from these things. Okay, and so that house was full of these religious paintings, and of course copies bought from the church. Usually that's the way they end up in people's houses. And the kid is in the crib or on a bed somewhere, and there is another kid, the sister of the kid, which is, like I said, one of my relatives. And a flame just went, hit one of the paintings, and the painting fell down just by itself, like that. Just the flame just hit that stuff, gone, the flame is gone, and the painting fell on the kid, hit the kid. And after that, the kid had the fingers and the toes all crooked, like twisted in a weird way. And of course, the mother of the kid got panicked. That's the torrent cat. Look at that, it's full of boulders, and it's not they are not placed by humans here. All that stuff is being moved by the water. Actually, I'll sit here instead of going in the sun until I finish this recording. And now he's panicked because the kid is feeling sick and has this toes and all the finger twisted in a weird way. And so the kid's mother went to see one of those healers, kind of a healer person in the community, and the person said, yeah, you need to grab 9 lost or discarded objects, different objects. And so the kid's mom went to the garbage, like to the pile of garbage where people discard their items and stuff, and found some brush, a hair comb, and a couple of other items, some bottle, I don't know, the person who told me the story today gave me a kind of a list of few items. She remembered like 70 years, yeah, 70 years old story, right? This is a very old story, but because it's related to one of my past relatives, I thought, I need to kind of pay attention. And so the mother of that kid took the items to this healer woman, and the healer woman was doing some sort of a prayer or some sort of a religious ceremony. Okay, so here people did some barbecue, I left some items on the torrent path. Yeah, this is a weird place to be. I'm telling you, this is a torrent path. It's not a trail. It's not a road. It's not a road actually. This is being carved by the torrents every year. It's not far from the highway, and so I'm told that every time this woman was doing her religious stuff, because she said, you know what, I'm supposed to do a number of days, like 1 foot or no, one toe or 1 finger would get untwisted, but no, only 1 or 2 at a time. And yeah, so she had to do she said like a 9 or something, and I forgot what she said, because I was focused on the driving. I was driving on a highway and I was on the phone at the same time. About the last one was undone 2 fingers at the same time. But so that was the way they've undone the stuff that came upon this kid. But guess what? The kid grew up a troubled kid. Didn't want to attend school. They was doing only stupid stuff. It's like the kid was not mentally ill or anything, like a stupid kid. No, it's just like doing silly stuff, like being made to think that way. Could not keep a job, was doing drinking and stuff like that. So it tells me that something was working inside of that person's mind as an adult. And guess what? I should not share this stuff, but she had a kid. The kid is still alive, of course, and the kid married with someone who was in the deep depression, who got into some big life-altering trouble. So it's kind of a, they connected to a similar vibe people. And so this person, the person I'm talking about, tried to kill herself and ingested some poisonous material that burned all the esophagus, and then she didn't die, but she lived with pain and suffering for a couple of years later, until she died. But when I look back at her life and her suffering since she was a kid, is like oh, this was a life full of suffering. Like something was inside of her mind, and I didn't know the story. I just learned today this story about how she had these toes and fingers twisted. It's like a weird story, but before the story I said to whoever told me the story, I said, oh, you remember this woman, like I said, one of the relatives, remember this woman? I think she had a demonic, like she was possessed. Then she person said, yeah, let me tell you the story when she was a kid. And I thought, okay, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. So again, this is a recording of some thoughts. It's not a recording for those who believe or non-believe. I'm just like stating some stuff. I'm a type of person who connect the dots, science and paranormal. I'm not the only one doing that. There are scientists groups doing the same thing, doing experiments. Next week I'll get some more data, more info about a piece of software that is going to hopefully help me, I'm hoping, to get some answers related to energizing objects, because I know I have that ability to energize objects, but I'm telling you something else. There are people who can energize objects with destructive energy. And now, if you want to connect some dots, you probably heard of people getting wind. quickly for the microphones. It's going to be noisy on the recording. There are people who believe that you should not take certain foods, certain items from certain people. I actually watched a video of one of the monks sharing his experience, how he got a nasty headache after eating a bit of cake made by a witch. And he heard of the woman that she's a witch. Like other people said, yeah, you know what, watch out, don't talk to that woman because she is performing some magic stuff. And she came to this priest at the time. He was not a monk at the time, he was a priest, Orthodox priest, and she insisted that he should eat some of her cooked or baked cake or something. And he was a bit hesitant, but to get rid of her, she was insisting, and you know, he just touched a bit of that cake, and he put a bit of the topping on his mouth just to be polite. And he said in the evening he got a very nasty headache, and then he started to connect the dots. And when he was praying, she paid him to pay it's an offering, and these days people offer money instead of some offering. She paid this guy to pray for her a certain type of prayer, and he didn't want to perform that, but he performed other prayer, another Orthodox prayer from the Bible or from a different book or whatever. And second day she came back to him and said, they take that plane into the air. This is a tow plane that kept flying for the last 2 hours. I'm here, the yellow one kept flying. And mosquitoes are flying. It's a woman pilot in the yellow airplane. I know that because I monitor the traffic. Anyway, so people having fun. It's a nice day. So that's the idea. The witch came back to this then priest and said, yeah, I asked you to perform this ceremony or no ceremony, like a prayer, and you did something else. And this guy thought, he said, no, I did what you said. She said, no, you need to go back and do. And then he thought, how did she knew what he was doing, right? How did she knew? What type of so-called powers this woman had? And I think he tried to get rid of her in a polite way. But what I'm saying, he knew, this priest guy, he knew that certain objects are being charged with certain energy done by these people who perform dark black magic and stuff like that. So I'm connecting the dots, and I'm going to perform certain experiments, charging crystals with a good healing energy. I cannot approach, I don't want to, I'm afraid, and I don't know how to, and I'm not interested in sending negative, like a destructive vibes to an object or to people. I know from stories what happens to people who create harm after they die. So at least that keeps me away from playing with this type of black magic and stuff like that. I know people who've done it, and it's like they sold their soul to the destructive forces, and now they suffer. And for a bit of gain, like people doing that, they make lots of money, they scam people, they keep asking for more money. For a bit of gain in this material temporary world is not worth to jump in and grab that. considering what happens after that. So again, I will perform certain crystal charges and probably pieces of metal just to see, and I'll post some results using the software. So now it's just an idea in my head, but who knows, maybe I'm going to be able to prove that the energy, the invisible energy exists. It's real. The destructive energy is real, and you should stay away from a certain type of people. You feel their vibe, so stay away from. And maybe subscribe to my channel and watch other type of recordings, or other recordings where I mention what the narcissists do to their victims from an energy point of view. You might want to see some adventures if you are curious. Anyway, so I'll let you go. That's it for today from the British Columbia, Canada. See you later. Bye bye.